Hey, and welcome to Batrants. This is our first episode. I'm Nick,
I'm John.
and we're going to rant on about Batman versus Superman. Now, give you a quick idea of what our podcast is going to be about. It's called Bat Rants, but that doesn't limit us to Batman. Although we will reference it often, I'm sure it's a passion of ours. Neither one of us claim to be an expert, so if you feel like you need to correct us, feel free. You can send an email to batrantspodcast@gmail.com, and we'll try to address it in our next episode. That being said, I think unless you have anything, John.
No, that covers it really.
All right, let's just dive right in because and to clear things up, we are going to be spoiling a lot. We're
Yeah,
not holding back. This is all about some spoilers because we want to talk about the Ultimate Edition. Now, I
yeah.
myself I didn't go see it in theaters. Whenever all the critic reviews started coming out, and I heard that there was going to be an Ultimate Edition, I said, you know what? I'll wait. I'm going to just see it when it comes out. Ultimate Edition. I want to see Zack Snyder's cut. Uh, these places like WB and all, they're notorious for cutting out a lot of stuff that the directors wanted in there and saw as part of their vision. So I kind of knew what was going to happen. And I was
hmm
waiting around for the Ultimate Edition. But now John, on the other hand, saw the theatrical version. So we'll be able to give you a little bit of a reference from both somebody who's seen it in theaters and somebody who never did.
It's a little fuzzy-ish, but I did recognize new scenes when I saw them.
And you
Apparently,
know,
there was added scenes in the Doomsday fight that I didn't catch, but there's new scenes, so I didn't catch those.
well, with 30 minutes of additional footage, I could only hope that there was a lot. And the thing that I love about this is that this Ultimate Edition came out, and I was kind of justified in my thinking, which is I'm going to wait on it because now you're starting to see all of these critics are issuing apologies to Zack Snyder.
Yeah, I saw that.
Uh, they're like, "Oh, we're sorry, this isn't a crap film," and quite honestly, and like I said, I didn't see this in
Well,
theaters.
to be fair, there are still some people that still think it's a crap film, and they've seen both versions, which, whatever. In my opinion, it's a much better film.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. For not seeing it in theaters, I loved the film. I loved it from the aspect of being a fan
hmm
of the comics, and as we'll get into later, there's a lot of things in there. If you're a Batman or a Superman fan, there's a lot of source references that they brought into the film.
Right.
Uh, in the same hand, and once again, we'll get into this, I'm sure, later, but it would have been nice to have a more unique story.
Yeah, it would.
I think he was playing it safe, though. Honestly, I think he didn't. He wants, he's trying to build this, if you will, Snyderverse, uh, and set up the upcoming Justice League movies and things like that. So I think he felt he had to play it safe, and it's probably the right call.
Right. Well, yeah. I remember I was looking forward to seeing this movie when it came out in theaters, and when it was first announced that this movie was going to be made back in what 2013, I think. I think that's when it was announced. Where they were at a Comic Con, they showed a little teaser poster and just read an excerpt from The Dark Knight Returns, where Bruce Wayne is talking to Superman, saying, "I want you to remember, Clark, that I'm the one man that beat you." I was excited when that happened, and at the same time, Zack Snyder said he was going to direct it. I just had this little small feeling that it was going to be very polarizing. It was not going to be a very well accepted film from everybody because you either like Zack Snyder or you don't. So I had a feeling that the reviews wouldn't be all positive. There's probably going to be half and half, which what it turned out to be. And when the movie was, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm not real strongly sure about Zack Snyder's body of films because I'm not sure if I've even seen anything else of his.
Well, I say that from just previous films that I've heard, like Watchmen. I'm not a Watchmen guy. I have yet to read the comic. I have it. I just haven't got around to reading it. But I wasn't the biggest fan of the movie. But there are some people that love it, some people that hate it, and there are other comic book fans that I know that are kind of half and half on Zack Snyder. So a lot of people like to say that he's a good visual director, just not a good director telling a tight, cohesive story. Which I kind of agree with at times. I've seen a couple of them where the story was a mess. And when the review came out like a week early from review critics about the movie, and it was down to what I think 20 something, 29, 28% on Rotten Tomatoes. I was a little bummed out, like, oh man, because I was really looking forward to it. And when I went to go watch it and came out, and I was very confused of the low score, which I do agree the theatrical cut is a big chopped up mess. But in my opinion of a bad movie is when it's just unwatchable. It was still entertaining. I could tell there was a lot more scenes that could have went somewhere. And once I heard there's a 3 hour rated R cut and this was 2.5 hours, I was okay. That has to be the film to watch. And this, I'll never watch a 2.5 hour cut ever.
And the thing that gets me is that I'm wondering. I really want to know why this was rated R. It did not seem like a rated R film. Watching it, what they dropped one F bomb. I don't even think.
There's one F bomb. There's a little bit more brutal scenes. Like I don't remember the blood splat with the crate hitting the guy in the warehouse when Batman threw it.
Yeah.
I think there's just a couple violent scenes, extra violent scenes, and an F bomb. I think that's why. And of
Well,
course, bat ass.
well, I mean, we can in a rated PG-13 movie, you can have one F bomb. So as far as I'll put it this way, I've seen much more violent and suggestive films that are PG-13 than this one
Right.
was. So I don't see what warranted this one being called a rated R movie.
Mm-hmm.
So
It is odd to think that a Batman and Superman, especially when they're together, would be rated R. I never thought that would happen, but it did.
yeah, and huge controversy in there too. Since how we've already touched on it a bit before we get started, I want to try and go down the film by what I can recall
Mm-hmm.
from front to beginning. So I guess we'll cover that in a minute. I'll come back to that. Let's
Okay.
see. So
We've got
Batman
a lot of
versus
ground to cover.
yeah, we do. It's really intended to be the introduction of Batman to this world of Man of Steel that was created when they did the Superman movie. As far as that goes, I think they did an excellent job bringing Batman into that world.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Uh, the big thing here is that they actually took what they did in Man of Steel and they built off of it, and they addressed a lot of the bad issues and concerns that I had with that movie. Because I mean, let's be honest, that movie was so out of character for Superman, it wasn't even funny.
It was a very much different take on Superman. Um, it's not the Superman I grew up with. Mine was Christopher Reeve. He was more light and voice of reason. This is almost emo Superman to me,
Yeah,
anyway.
no, I absolutely agree. He seemed to have some really bad inner conflicts that, and I'm by no means a Superman comic reader, so I'm probably
I'm
not the
not
world's
either.
best expert. But I can't recall a storyline really uh, where he was as conflicted or neutral, chaotic, however you want to put it, chaotic neutral maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's a great thing if you're listening out there and you know some of those Superman stories that may have matched up with Man of Steel. Once again, just send us an email. We'd love to talk about it. So I guess the big go ahead.
No, I was just going to add a pointless thing. I don't remember what Superman movie it was. It was the one where he had a clone that was the evil version of him. Do you recall this sequel? I don't remember which one it is. I don't remember if it's 3 or 4. I think it was 3.
I think
Anyway,
it was it the one with the nukes? Because that was the 4, the world of peace or something like
I
that.
think 4. I think 4 was the one where it had the weird dude with the black cape. So I guess it was 3.
Yeah. That interestingly enough, though, that kind of gave birth to Bizarro, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh wow! But the point I was trying to make, the Superman that I watched as a kid was 1 and 2, and he was bright and lighthearted. Well, I don't know, lighthearted, but in that one, the evil Superman had a very much the only way you can tell the difference between the two, he had like a 5 o'clock shadow, and the blue was slightly more dark.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I see this new Superman, it reminds me of the evil Superman from part, I guess, 3. I could be wrong, but
Yeah, and
anyway, that's all I was trying to say. It's pointless, but
I'll say it's almost comparing the Reeves movies, those original Christopher Reeves movies. Well, they're not really the original. They're technically the third time he's been seen on film, fourth time. But the original color, the 1970s Superman movies, comparing them to Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman, it's almost like comparing Adam West's Batman to Christopher Nolan's Batman.
mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, I love the 70s and 80s Superman as well. I grew up on those. It's one of the things that got me interested in reading comics, because those came out when I was real young. I never liked, I don't know, I can't buy an alien that comes down here and has these superpowers, and he's just too superpowered for my liking, really.
I would be scared if I write on the side just for fun, but if I ever had a chance to write comics, I would stay far away from Superman, because there's not a whole lot you can do to make it interesting, because what makes it interesting for me is raising the stakes higher. It's kind of hard to do that to someone you can't really hurt or kill. I mean, yeah, there's kryptonite and doomsday, but
Yeah.
you don't want to.
Well,
So I'd be scared to do it.
Part of you with that fear of what Superman really is, you almost kind of cheer for Zod. If it weren't for the fact that he's egomaniacal and wants to take over the world himself. Actually, really, I guess you really cheer for Lex, to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
This is like that meme that's going around. As a kid, you love Batman, and as an adult, you identify more with Joker. And I think that's true with Superman as well. As a kid, you identify with Superman because, hey, you want to have those superpowers and all. But as an adult, you kind of really, really start understanding Lex.
Right.
You get that complexity and understand where that character's coming from. So my first question into this is this. And you asked me this, so I'm going to go. I get to ask you this time, because we're actually officially podcasting. I get to ask you, do you think Affleck did the job?
Yes, I did.
I wholeheartedly agree.
When he was announced, there was so many videos before it was officially announced that everybody had these I can't remember the actor's name, but there's this one actor. He does direct DVD movies, but he's good in martial arts. He has dark hair. Everybody was pushing for this one guy, so I kind of felt like they were going to go a much younger route, someone a little bit less known, but not too less known. And then when Ben Affleck popped up, I was like, really? Ben Affleck? Which I didn't have a problem with, because I've always liked Affleck. Well, when I was a kid, I didn't like him. Not kid. When I was a teenager, I didn't like him until I started watching, which here's another funny thing. The movies that people kept bringing up to saying that's why he's a terrible Batman, because he did Daredevil. Daredevil's the reason why I started liking him. Because when I watched Daredevil in theater, I didn't know anything about Daredevil. I knew he was part of Spider-Man comics because my buddy was in the Spider-Man. But there was one scene I remember thinking this back in the theater, but I never thought much of it ever since then, where he's beating up a thug in an apartment complex, and this kid is scared of him, and he says, "I'm not the bad guy." And then he stands on a rooftop because I guess he's upset. A kid's crying because he looks like a devil, apparently. And he's standing on a rooftop with the rain coming down on him, and the camera's panning back. He's like, "I'm not the bad guy." And I remember sitting in the theater like, wow, he looks like Batman right there. But I never thought he would come up.
Yeah,
But
I agree. I also I'm guilty. I'm guilty of liking Daredevil. I don't understand why it receives so much hate because, well, quite frankly, he brought a little bit of life to what I consider a pretty dull character. Anyway,
mm-hmm.
And I thought they did an excellent job with that film for the time, and that's a lot. I think that's a lot of what happens with Daredevil is it's people looking back from where films are now and trying to judge what they were then, and it's not like that. Whenever you watch that, then this is before the huge Marvel cinematic universe came out. This is before we had really great comic movies coming out. So for what it is, it really did, in my opinion, lay the ground for some of that Marvel Cinematic Universe that they're so proud of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Marvel fans seem to forget there was a lot of bad Marvel movies before they got them right.
Punisher, prior to, what the first Punisher movie with Dolph Lundgren.
That's actually a guilty pleasure of mine, but admittedly it is a bad movie. But it is a guilty pleasure. But yeah, ever since Affleck was announced, first I was just kind of like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I thought they were going to go a much younger, less known route. So, but I was cool with it because, like, well, I've already seen what he looks like as Batman, so I know he can pull it off. He looks like Bruce Wayne. He's got the right build to be Batman, so
Well, we
I
know,
was
if
team
you
Batfleck from the beginning.
I mean, if you watch Mallrats, he can definitely pull off intimidating dick. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I was skeptical, but in the same hand, it's like you and I talked about whenever it first came out. I was also skeptical, and I was also against the Brokeback Joker. And Heath Ledger's now absolutely my favorite Joker. So, and it's like I told you then, I'm skeptical, but in the same way I was skeptical about Heath Ledger, and I'm glad that I do come into these things skeptical because then I always seem to end up pleasantly surprised and happy about it, and that's how Batfleck was for me. It's just, it came out wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
He comes off real, and that's the biggest thing. He's not like a George Clooney over the top bullshit Batman, and he's not a Val Kilmer statue Batman. We get the perfect mix of Bruce Wayne and Batman in Ben Affleck, the likes of which, and this might be controversial of me to say, but I don't think Christian Bale hit Bruce Wayne that well. I mean, he did an all right job. He did better than most. He was definitely not Michael Keaton, who was, it has to be. I honestly think Michael Keaton is my absolute favorite Batman. He's who I judge all the other Batmen off of.
Mine too. So you're not alone on that one.
Of course, I don't. I say that sparingly, but Adam West is in a class of his own. So I don't judge Adam West by Michael Keaton, obviously, because we're talking about two different Batman portrayals there, and I love Adam West. But in the realistic Batman portrayal, I think I'd go out there and say it's Keaton, and then now Affleck, and then
Bale.
Christian Bale. Yeah.
Or did you mean George Clooney?
No, no, no. If you really wanted to put it down in all-time Batman, it's going to be Keaton, uh, and it's going to be a tie in there. If I'm doing all-time, it's going to be a tie between Keaton and West because, like I said, West kind of stands off on its own. Uh, but when you put him in there, I have to put him up there at number one because he's who got me into Batman. Well, I mean, he is, but he isn't. He's the first portrayal I ever saw of Batman.
Hmm. Well, for me, honestly, it just comes down to which performance I like the most. Keaton is definitely up there. Affleck is working his way. He's very close to the top. I would say for me, it's Keaton. I'm not ready to say Affleck because he's only done one, but he's a damn good, you know, contender. But it's definitely Keaton, Affleck, West, and then Bale's probably the fourth one. I just don't know which order, but well, I do know who my number one is. That's Michael Keaton. I don't think any Batman actor is ever going to top Michael Keaton for me personally. That was the whole reason why I walked into a comic book shop was because of Michael Keaton's Batman.
I'll say this: if Ben Affleck continues on the path he's on when he does his solo standalone Batman movie, and I'll tell you this: I'll tell you exactly how Ben Affleck will possibly top Keaton in my mind. One, if he continues on the path that he's on with Batman,
Mm-hmm.
he's got the Batman, he's got the Bruce Wayne, he's got that. But considering that he is helping write, direct, and I believe he's also supposed to help produce the next Batman movie, which we'll see.
Yep.
If he comes out helping out to write a good Batman movie, to direct a good Batman movie, then he'll become my favorite because as much as Keaton I love, and I'll never say that I don't like his Batman, Ben Affleck will bring the passion of Batman to the role by doing the things that he's done to try and portray that Batman right.
Yeah. Just to say a couple of quick things, and I think we should start getting into the movie. But I do want to say that I don't have any dislikes for Bale. I like Bale's Batman. I think he did a good job as both Batman and Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is more of a douche, but in a good way, just to kind of play douchey playboy. And the one thing that kind of breaks it for me is his Batman is his voice. And I know that's not really his fault because it's Nolan's call, but I understand why they went with that voice. But it really took me out of the movie quite a few times when he spoke in his Batman voice.
Well,
So,
the thing is, though, is that when you start talking Batman Begins, that voice was not bad. It was not until
no,
the second time that he kind of went a little bit over the top with what he was doing with it.
which I understood why they were trying to do it, but I think they were taking the realism way too seriously. This is a comic book movie, but
Okay, go ahead.
uh, crap, I lost track. I was gonna say, but
Oh, well, I was
after
going to.
I was just gonna say real quick, after Dark Knight Rises, I was really hoping that the next incarnation of Batman, which I thought was gonna be some time, I wasn't expecting one so quickly, and I'm kind of glad we got one because we got a great one, in my opinion. I was really hoping the next Batman incarnation would be more comic book Batman. Like, I really wanted to see the costume have color to it, gray and black, gray and blue, I don't care, and make the fight scenes a little more comic book ish. And they pulled that off magnificently in
Yeah,
Batman v Superman, so I'm very happy.
I agree, albeit in a different direction than I expect. I did not expect Dark Knight Returns Batman. I really wasn't. They're supposed to be setting up for the Justice League, so I came in expecting them to portray him off as younger, and
I did too.
for them to go with what he's 46, 46 in the movies. Because at the beginning you see at the opening sequences and you see him at the caskets and all later it says 1981 on their deaths. So that means if we take the lore, which says that he was what 7 or 7 or 8, depending on which beginning war you talk about. Bruce Wayne was 7 or 8 years old when his parents died. That puts him at about 46 years old in this universe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an old Batman. I mean, you honestly have to ask yourself, what longevity do they have in this Batman character before they have to start going into prequels if they're going to continue running this Batman?
I don't know. It's a very odd choice. I like what they did, but it is really quite weird to have Batman, being 20 years of being the Batman and already went through sidekicks, and then all of a sudden he's in a Justice League. It's very, very odd, but
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna see where it goes.
All right, so let's start off at the beginning then. Like I said, like you said, they showed a new ish while staying true to the original origins for Batman right up front. The fan in me says, "Yay! There's Negan and there's Maggie." If you're Walking Dead fans, that was a great little thing for me there.
Oh,
I
was
don't.
he? I didn't know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thomas Wayne is the latest baddie at the end of this recent season of Walking Dead. He plays Negan, which is the bad guy going into next season, and
Oh, okay, him. Oh, I know him as the comedian in Watchmen. I think that's his character name.
I
Yeah.
guess I didn't even watch Watchmen. You told me there was Blue Dawn, so I was like, okay, that's it. I don't want to see that movie. Although, and it's a little side note, I recently got the new Batman Rebirth and then Batman One, and in Rebirth, Batman. I don't want to get into the storyline. I want to have a podcast based on Rebirth to give you a chance to read it. But there is a scene where he is looking through the Batcave and he finds something he didn't expect, and it's the smiley face button with the blood running down it.
Weird.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, that has to do with Watchmen.
It is.
So there's something going on there with the Watchmen and going on in that. But anyway, and the female character that played Martha Wayne is a regular on the show that plays Maggie on Walking Dead. So it was really cool that they got two Walking Dead characters on there, in my opinion, that played up to my other fandom, and it made me very happy. Who do you think? Who do
So
you think the killer was?
in this version,
Who do you think they were portraying there?
uh, I would assume it's Joe Chill, unless they're changing that.
I'm hoping that's where they were going. I imagine we'll find out more in the next movie because there's a lot there that needs to be explained that happens prior to this movie. I'm hoping the next Batman movie is a prequel.
But did you kind of groan a little bit when you first sat down and watched it, and you knew right away this was a retelling of how his parents died, even though it's not necessary?
Uh, that depends on how you look at it. As far as not
After
being
repeat
necessary,
viewings, I can kind of enjoy it, but when I first watched it, I was like, oh, God, do we
you
really have to do this?
you know, and as far as you and I go, and many Batman fans go, that is a kind of a groaner moment. But one, you've got to consider that they're looking at this as bringing a younger generation into the franchises. So you kind of have to set that up for the younger generation. And two, let's be honest, how cool was it to once again see somebody portray that? And I honestly think that it's one of the better portrayals of the death of Martha and Thomas Wayne.
When I first watched it, I didn't think it was, but over time, I've grown around to it. Like, I think the one that kind of did it the best was Batman Begins. That's my opinion because it was a little bit more emotional. This one just kind of felt like, yeah, I know the story. Can we move along? I know what happens.
I
Yes,
don't know, man.
it's very, very pretty. It's very gorgeous. Like, ooh, look, Excalibur on there. Oh, what a shame! If they wait a couple more years, they saw Ghostbusters, but they die before they can see it. That's a shame. That makes me cry. Like, oh, you didn't get to see Ghostbusters.
Uh,
What
but
a shitty way to go.
I'm going to disagree to a certain extent though when you say that it's not as emotional, because this is the first time that somebody's portrayed the Batman family, the death of the family of Batman, and Thomas Wayne has lived long enough to actually give his son a message. And you actually watch the life go out of his mother's eyes in this one. And usually they shoot him and they're dead. And that's it. Although I won't sit here and say that it wasn't one of those things where I was like, okay, bang, bang. And I'm sitting there verbally saying this as I'm watching it. It's like, okay, bang, now her, bang, and the pearls fall to the ground because that's, that's how it is. It's like, you know what I'm saying, man. It's been done so many times. You know exactly what the format's going to be. It's like watching a new Star Wars movie. You know there's going to be a star field. You know you're going to get that intro. It's going to go across. You're going to have the screen crawl with the story. Then it's going to pan down. There's going to be a ship and a planet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing here. But moving on.
I just want to say real quick that I did like the new way how the pearls broke with the gun barrel, not barrel, but
Yeah, the slide pulling back on
yeah,
it.
the slide. That slide breaks the pearls, but it's kind of ruined for me now. Now I don't buy pearls. I don't wear them, but there's a YouTuber. I can't remember her name. I think it's Comic Book Girl 19, and she was talking about like she was making a pearl necklace, and she was reviewing the movie at the same time. And the point she was trying to make, look, uh, what's Thomas Wayne has been buying Martha Wayne some cheap pearls because real pearls do not shatter like that. They're individually knotted, so when they're falling down, he's been a little cheap ass. So I think Thomas Wayne's kind of a cheapskate buying some cheap pearls. They're
Well,
buying pearls anyway.
it's kind of funny though that you say that because one of the things I did notice too is that this is the first time in like the intro, or the death sequence of his family, they're not dressed up in tuxedos. They don't look fancy. They don't look rich. They look like normal average people. So you have to wonder how rich are they at that point, and I don't know.
But moving on, we got a lot to talk about.
Yep. Um,
Which
all right.
is the whole attack on Metropolis.
Well, yeah, the attack on Metropolis sequence, and I love that. I love that they show this. They go back and they show this to refresh you of what was going on in the world,
That's
except
when my
from Bruce
wife
Wayne's
checked out.
viewpoint. Really?
She was like so confused, like, what the hell's going on? Like, this is the end of Man of Steel. Like, you mean that Superman movie? Like, yeah, she does not want to watch Superman movies. I tried to explain it to her, but she lost interest. Like, I don't care. Where's Batman?
Well, I sympathize, but this is a sequel movie. No matter how much you look at it, this is a sequel movie. So
Mm-hmm.
going into it without Man of Steel is like going in without knowing half of anything about Batman. And for the same, and this goes back to that same reason that they have to show the, the death of Martha and Thomas, because you cannot start this movie off without showing this sequence. This sequence sets up Batman's frame of mind for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
I will say this: I love the sequence in there where he grabs the little girl, and you see Bruce Wayne is just as heroic as his alternate ego, Batman.
My favorite part of that whole entire thing was I do like the girl scene, but my favorite one that kind of like demonstrates that is Batman. That's what Batman does. Is when the tower started to fall, everybody's running the opposite direction, the smoke's coming down, he's running right towards it.
Yeah,
That is Batman. He
but
didn't need a suit. He's always Batman, whether he has a suit on or not.
and that's exactly what I was just saying. Except that you get to see that it's actually he's doing it as Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
So unlike Superman, who's got to go run and change in a phone booth somewhere, he
Is there phone booths still to this day? What's he doing these days?
I don't know. I mean,
That's the thought. Yeah.
I guess in these days he could go into a gas station bathroom and change or something. But still, I'm just saying that
I don't know.
whereas Superman would actually have to change, Bruce Wayne is just like, you know what, screw it. There's people that need me right now. I'm not going to try and change or hide who I am. No, he goes out there and he, like you said, he shows the true hero that he is, and that's why I love it. I love that opening sequence.
But I have to say one thing. I kind of laugh every time I see it, which is horrible to say because, something like this had happened. How many years ago is it now? 2001, 9/11. I can't remember exactly how long, but
9/11, yeah, it was '01, so that would be 15 years
did
ago.
everybody literally stand in the building where there's buildings around them falling to the ground and shattering, and they need a phone call from the boss where they can leave and go home? Fuck that, I'm out. Jack, get everybody out of the building. Like, thanks, Bruce.
Though, I think the difference here is that they're seeing this whole fight go down, and they're not. It's not like you're seeing a plane come directly at your building, as in the whole 9/11 thing. If you were in there, of course, they didn't stand around watching the plane fly in either, because it kind of just happened. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe that was just the hope that it wasn't going to happen. I think they were all just stunned. Because, I mean, you are talking about at this point seeing two aliens fighting. I'm pretty sure you're going to be in that, what the hell is going on thing.
I try to get in the mindset, but I'm just thinking to myself, I don't care what this Bruce Wayne guy is paying me. I'm getting the fuck out of there. If I see buildings fall on the ground, I'm out. Bye. Fire me. I don't care. But anyway, not important.
But that leads into that leads into the next part of the discussion on the movie, and that is that, like I said, I think this really does set up the mindset of Bruce / Batman in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really good to see. Now, you get through all of that, and then you've got, which incidentally, like I said, I don't know if it was in the theatrical version or not, but supposedly the Ultimate version finally confirms that Jimmy Olsen's there. Now, let me ask you, I know this is a little side subject. We shouldn't take too much time on it, but do you really think that was Jimmy Olsen, or do you think the CIA replaced him?
Oh, I didn't think of that. Honestly, I just thought that was just Zack Snyder's version of Jimmy Olsen. Everybody makes fun of Jimmy Olsen as this little nerdy dude, and they kind of turn him, which he didn't do a whole lot, but he was kind of a badass CIA agent apparently. But
Well,
I don't know. Maybe, could be.
I'm thinking that they switched him out because, as much as Jimmy Olsen isn't, he is a central character to the Superman universe. He's he's always been, by what I can tell, somebody that Superman looks at and realize and remembers the innocence of the human nature. So I think they need to make sure he's not actually dead. Although I guess it wouldn't weigh in one way or the other, but it was just an interesting question. It was a question I had when I was watching that. So
That was. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, go.
I was just say that's where I first noticed, like, oh, this is new stuff because I remember in the original cut, after like the whole Metropolis thing, everything there is pretty much in the original cut, and you see the kryptonite that's there, and then all of a sudden, that I remember, the next frame was just the Jeep pulling into the gates of the compound. They take off their hoods, they sit them down, take pictures, and then mayhem ensues. There's no missiles. There's no like shooting. Like they're shooting, the villagers, but it's just not real clear why they're doing it. There's not a team of commando backups out in the desert coming to rescue the CIA agent, kind of help the town out.
Really?
None of that was in there. Yeah,
Well,
it's
then that
just
makes
like
a lot of, and that's really sad because that's almost key to understanding.
exactly. It's just like, why was this not in the movie?
Yeah, that is, and even at the time when I first watched it, the first time I watched it, I'm sitting there going, "What the hell am I watching? What is going on? And it's a great way to set up the mystery for the first half of the movie. It really was. But honestly, taking that sequences out, like where they find the CIA tracker, where these guys, you can tell they're in the know. They're not quite dressed up like the rest of the villagers there. So you kind of get this feeling, well, something's off about all of this. So it does really set up the whole later on storyline with Legs.
Yeah, because when I was watching, I had a feeling what was going on, but I couldn't help but with my other side of my brain saying, how is this telling to people that don't know anything about Superman or Batman comics at all? I had a feeling what they were trying to do, they're trying to set him up, but the original cut made it look like you kind of have to figure it out and assume it's because they're setting up Superman, and at the same time you felt like he just showed up because of Lois. When in this cut, not only did he show up for Lois, but he was trying to help the town out, and right away, like, yes, they made Superman likable for me. He wasn't such a selfish prick in this one. They made him really selfish in the original cut, which I did not like.
So, and we'll get into some of this. I want to kind of play it out like the movie does with this discussion. So I'm not going to get too much into it right now. But then you skip ahead, and you've got the woman from the village who's complaining about Superman. She's basically saying he came in and did all of that. Because see, at first I'm like, why are they burning the bodies? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Oh, it makes much more sense. The whole bullet thing. And honestly, I still think that the bullets. The bullets that she finds in her journal could have been explained better. Like, why were they special bullet? What made those bullets so special, other than the metal?
They were Scaramanga bullets.
They were what?
They were Scaramanga bullets.
Scaramanga bullets.
Don't. It's a bad joke. Don't worry about it.
The only thing I can assume is that there's some kind of special metal that dissipates in fire, because they were obviously burning the bodies, killing everybody, and burning the bodies to make it look like Superman came in and just
Do you
killed
think
everybody.
it could have been made from the ship that fell?
No.
That's the only thing I could think of. I don't know. But somehow they traced it to LexCorp.
No, because if you remember, she said the woman that did the analyzing, whenever she took it to be analyzed, she said this is a manufactured metal. It's a man-made metal. It's not or a man-made compound, and that's how they linked it to LexCorp, because LexCorp patented that particular metal. But like I said, I really do. I think the metal was made to leave no trace when burned, or maybe what I'm saying. So that way it looked like Superman went in there and burned everybody up. I think it's what they were going for with it.
Another thing, the whole where she lied because she was, I guess, blackmailed or something like that. Out of the original cut, it didn't understand why she showed up on the next scene. Like, he chased my family down. I'm like, no, he didn't. Why are you saying this? Why are you lying?
Gotcha. See, yeah, and like I said, they did a good job of setting Superman up, and you're left one. You got that mystery the first time you watch it, and you're going, "What the hell?" Okay, so then we move on, and we have this sequence where obviously he's living with Lois now.
Mm-hmm.
How, man? I mean, not to stand on Kevin Smith here in Mallrats, but
I know what you're trying to say. I don't know. Maybe.
To quote Brody, he would have to be wearing a kryptonite condom, which would kill him. Otherwise, when he shoots his load, he's going to blow Lois's back out.
Oh god, I need to watch Mallrats again. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. I don't know.
And honestly, of all the scenes that you talk about that they cut out for the theatrical version, was that one in there?
Yeah, that was in there.
Okay, so there was a little amount of time right there that could have been cut out, because it really played no integral part of the storyline.
I would say the introduction could have been cut out, but then again, as soon as they kept on showing the name Martha, I had a feeling there's something about this that's going to show up. They're setting up for something, and I never really stopped to think about Martha, Superman's mother. But I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, they could have definitely cut that, trim it down. Really wasn't necessary.
Yeah,
Eh,
I don't see what all was necessary about Superman bringing home flowers and screwing Lois in the bathtub. Like I said, that of all the other sequences that needed to be left in the movie, that one very well could have been left out. It was kind of disjointed from the rest of the movie. But
but
I
that,
digress.
but
I
that.
will ask. What?
I'm sorry. I keep having a lag. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I was just going to tell our viewer, anybody listening, come on, weigh in on this. Weigh in on this issue if you think Superman and Lois could even possibly procreate.
But I will say that scene alone in the original cut made him even more selfish looking because, you know, in the original cut, you didn't show him taking out the missiles, didn't show him trying to save people. It just showed him saying like, I don't care what they're saying about me. My woman could have been killed. I'm like, wow, you're really selfish. Like, I understand why you did it, but this is not the Superman I know. But um, that scene alone made him look like a dick in the original cut.
Yeah.
So I didn't mind it so much this time, but I do agree that scene is not really needed at all.
For those of you watching, I know that the watching on the YouTube video, I know that it's bouncing around a lot. We don't have any kind of control over that. I probably should have mentioned that earlier. The Google Hangouts program, it'll automatically switch between the two of us. I am trying to control it as best I can. If it becomes an issue, please just write in the comments down here. Let us know. We'll read it, and I'll see what I can do about working this out. All right, so let's just scoot along. Let's see.
The next scene is the first appearance of Batman.
Yes. All right. I love what they did with the police showing up on the scene. I love it that the people are like, they're locked in there and they go to let them out and they're like, no, it's still here.
I was clapping inside every time. I still clap every time I see that. Like the devil saved us, and they tell it's okay. No, no, he's still here. He's upstairs. Yes, that's Batman.
Yeah. And the thing that gets me, though, is that in this sequence, okay, later in the movie, they allude to the fact that GCPD works with Batman. They, Superman mentioned it. There's the comic that's taped to the table at GCPD, and they allude to it. But here in the beginning, you almost start to think that he's still an outlaw from justice with GCPD, and it was. I think it was a little misportrayed there. But
Yeah, that was. I don't know. Maybe your half cops are helping them, other cops are not. I don't know.
the only thing that I can think of is that if you remember Dark Knight Returns, there's a new rookie. At the beginning of Dark Knight Returns, there's a rookie cop, and you have the seasoned cop, and he goes, "Oh, this is the first time you've seen him." And the rookie cop kind of does the exact same thing that the kid does here, and I think that's where they drew that from. But man, how about that wall crawl?
Oh God. I I love it.
I know
I
it
love it.
was.
I love it. I love it. Uh, for like when I watched it for the first time, like I said, everything with him running towards the smoke with the building was falling and all this stuff. And right when he did the crawl on the wall and going up the shaft and everything, I knew right away this is the Batman I've been waiting to see for a while. I like the ones that came before, but I wanted more comic book, and this is comic book Creature of the Night Batman, and it's finally here.
If I had one complaint about it, it's that
Mhm.
it really really came off CGI. Unfortunately, that was actually my first take on it. Like, wow, that was some really kind of poor CGI. But then I kind of just suspended that for a minute and thought about it. I was like, man, that was badass. That was awesome.
Mhm. because
So,
I kind of stopped and like I was trying to figure out how exactly did he do that, and I've freeze framed, scene by scene to see exactly how he was able to move so quickly up the hole. Like, what the hell is he grabbing on to make him do that? I don't know, but whatever. I just go with it. It's a comic book movie.
mhm.
Can't always be realistic.
So yeah, it was a really good introduction to the actual Batman, like you said. And now we can talk about the suit because we're here at the introduction of Batman. I love the suit.
I do too.
It's got that. It's got that Frank Miller. You know,
Hmm. Which
it
is
was.
my favorite. A lot of people were complaining about the ears, the small ears. That I I love. I love that look of Batman. I love the logo. I love the cowl. So
But
I
that
was very, very happy with it.
the thing is that the small ears though are exactly what that particular bat suit had. They had those small ears, uh, or at least the cartoon, the movie, the Dark Knight animated movie, Dark Knight Returns. He had those same type of small ears.
Hmm.
Dude, I'll tell you another thing too, and they talk about this in the little special featurette thing that comes with it on the digital. Did you notice how much bigger in stature that Batman is to Superman?
He's definitely taller, that's for sure.
Dude, he's huge. You look at from his side profile, he's almost one and a half of Superman. He is absolutely a creature of muscle, and he's huge. Dude,
He's a powerhouse.
Affleck had to put on a lot. I know he gained muscle mass and he went down to only 8% body fat for this movie.
I think his wife or ex-wife said something about he gained 20 to 50 pounds in just pure muscle. And I was like, shit.
Yeah,
It shows.
yeah, man. I mean, it was really well done. Uh, so so that suit's great. That scene is awesome. It really is. It's my only problem I ever had with it was the symbol on the chest. But there again, going back, that's the one that goes with that outfit.
Hmm.
Uh, and they talked about too that the bat suit this time around was going to be made out of cloth because they wanted him to be or look like it was made out of cloth, so that it would look like he can just muscle through things.
Hmm.
So you go from there, and it goes to what the Bat Cave, I believe is the
So,
next sequence.
in my notes here, now when I watched the Ultimate Cut, I was kind of tired, didn't really focus too much, but I didn't like the Batcave the first couple of times, but watching it again and actually looking of what goes on, what little they do show of the Batcave, and I realize it's much bigger than what they show. Uh, I really dig the Batcave. I like it very much. What about
Yeah,
you?
I do too, but I halfway wonder if it wasn't an alternative Bat Cave, considering he is using the lake house. And Wayne Manor's burnt down. So maybe this isn't the actual Bat Cave, but like a satellite Bat Cave.
Maybe, but is it really too much to ask? I have a little T Rex and a penny. Come on, just once, please. I'm sure there'll
Right.
be a lot of people like, why the hell does he have a large penny as a Batcave? Who cares?
So the suit and the glass case, I think both of us will agree on this. Um, but there is, people are trying to conjecture it. I don't think there's any conjecture whatsoever. That's Jason Todd.
Yeah, Jason Todd, unless they do something different and make it Carrie Kelly, because there was a rumor that Carrie Kelly was supposed to be in this movie. That didn't happen.
But with having the references to Joker on there,
But it would be stupid, as popular as Red Hood is, it'd be stupid if it was not Jason Todd.
yeah, I agree. That's what I was going to say. It is so set up to look exactly like the incidences that happened to Jason Todd, and I think that's exactly what that's supposed to be. And he pauses there, and the fact that he pauses there and looks at it tells you that he looks at it all the time, and it's also a frame of reference to his uh, mindset that he's in, because we do see we do see a very obsessed Bruce Wayne. He's become very obsessed with Batman, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what I don't get: the branding, man. The branding. Why the branding? What do you think? Because I still cannot to this day figure out why Batman is branding people.
Well, I mean, in the movie, it's, if you get the brand, you're kind of marked for death in prison. I guess because you snitched and then he brands you. And I guess, snitches get stitches, as they say. Um, I guess that's it.
See,
Um,
to me, if you were branded by Batman, it seems like those that were branded by Batman would form basically a hate club in prison. They wouldn't turn on him. They would kind of rally behind them in a hate club for Batman. So I don't understand why it causes a death sentence. I don't understand why Batman is doing it. It does not make any kind of sense as to why he would do that. I think it's just the only thing I can figure is that they're trying to show how cruel he's become, because it illuminates that line that Alfred is obviously delivering to him when he says, when you feel powerless, it makes even good men turn cruel. And I think that's the whole purpose in doing that. I think it's the only thing I can figure is to illuminate how cruel he's become because he feels really powerless because of the Superman situation.
I'm still struggling with why he's at this point. Branding people and shooting a car full of people. Whether he's intentionally trying to murder some of these people or not, it's just I can go with whatever kind of crazy things you want Bruce Wayne to do, but at least explain why, because I just thought it was odd that the reason why mainstream audiences know that Batman does not kill or use guns is because of the Nolan movies. In this next one, he's using guns. He's sending people to their death sentence, killing some of them.
And I think what we're seeing here is that he's been doing this for 20 years. And let's be honest, you can see the effects that the this is the effect of what continually taking down and villains and then getting released back out into the public is. I think that's really what this is. Maybe he's just tired of putting them in jail and then them getting right back out, because fans have been saying it for years. Why the hell do you keep putting them in jail when you know they're just going to escape again? Maybe that's what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I can go with it. If you want to make Batman a killer, I'm okay with it. I don't care. But I just want at least a little bit of logic why he's doing it. And everybody's saying, well, did you listen to the line what Alfred was saying? Like, yeah, but that still doesn't do it for me at all. That
Okay, maybe I can give you something new to think about on this. And this is how I see it. And this is why as being a Batman fan, I can justify it. He is so worried that he's so afraid that Superman, with all of these powers, seemingly unstoppable, is going to bring about havoc to the planet. That what is one life versus millions of lives? It's an end justifies the mean thing, and I think Bruce is doing what he feels, whatever it takes to secure the information to be the shield that we'll all need.
true, but at the same time, it just for me, it feels like he's been kind of a hypocrite. How is he any different than Superman? Like, he always calls deaths. Like, well, so have you, Bruce. I mean, granted, you didn't kill innocent people, but still, you're in a way taking lives. So I don't see how you're any different.
I think he justifies it in the fact that it's not like he's tearing an entire city down to do this. Uh, I think he's doing it because he feels like he's saving the world, and it's worth a few scumbags' deaths. And like I said, honestly, if I was Batman, I'd get tired of seeing everybody I put behind jail escape again. So maybe that,
Or
you know,
or maybe he started ever since the death of Robin. I would have been okay with that. I don't care.
and maybe that's exactly why they start that scene off with him, or have that scene with him looking at the Jason Todd, or however you want to interpret it, Robin suit. Maybe that is exactly what pushed him up. Maybe that is exactly the event, because that suit, uh, I don't know, that suit's a bit too big to be. Because if I'm not mistaken, you go back in the comic books, Jason Todd was a kid when that happened. He wasn't a teenager, so that was kind of a larger size suit. I think maybe that's a fresh event. I think maybe you've hit on something there. Maybe that's a fresh event. And that was the event that's pushed him over the edge with this. But either way,
Maybe.
what we're seeing is a fed up Batman. He's a pissed off Batman. That black man sitting there scratching the scratch off ticket says it best. He says he's hunting and he's mad. He's pissed.
Yeah. As far as like going back to the comics, this version of Batman, he's much older, and we're just now getting the Justice League. So I think they're going to do whatever the hell they want. They can make Jason Todd in his 30s if they wanted to. So I'm still convinced it's Jason Todd. Maybe so. Maybe that's what it is. I mean, again, I'm not against him killing. I mean, come on, I love Michael Keaton movies, and he kills in that. It's just I'm just not satisfied the reasons why he's killing.
Mm-hmm.
That's it really. But I do want to say that I can't figure this out. But every time that scene comes up, Alfred is working on a cowl for him and working on the voice modulator. At
Mm-hmm.
first, I thought the cowl was the ultimate armor suit. That's not the same cowl, if I'm not mistaken. That looks like a completely different, you
Yeah,
know.
I noticed that too. And the thing that gets me is that cowl. If you go back and you watch that cowl has goggles in it.
Hmm.
But like you said, it's not the ultimate suit. I don't know, because he's talking about this new layer of armor. Isn't? Yeah, maybe it's just what the cowl
Is
looks
it the
like.
Arkham Knight armor? What is it?
I think that's just basically what it looks like underneath the outer layer. The outer layer is made to look kind of like a skin, and maybe that's the inside layer of the new cowl.
Yeah, because he does take a few shots at close range to the back of the head, and it doesn't
Oh,
penetrate somehow. So
yeah, point blank. The dude's got his gun right up against his head and pulls it twice. And anybody that knows anything about body armor will tell you right there that that was a little unrealistic. That would have jarred him around a little bit. But it is what it is. Uh,
maybe that the whole scene why he's killing, maybe they're going to address that, and maybe the Justice League or the standalone Batman movie, which is the one that I'm really, really excited for. I like Affleck's movies that he's directed and written, and I like his Batman, and plus you mix Jeff Johns in there, and I read anything he writes. So if this movie fails, I'm going to be very, very bat sad.
Bat sad. Bat sad with the bat flag. Well, I hate to say it, but we're coming up on our 1 hour mark already.
Oh yeah.
Now, uh, I would hate to put out a 2 hour podcast, but it being our first podcast, guys, at this point, I'm going to tell you, if you want to pause your podcast and watch it next week or listen to it next week, that's up to you. I don't know what your time is. I think John and I are going to carry on unless you just need to go, John. and we can
Huh?
split this up into two. I think we'll go on and just do this first one as a 2 hour podcast. I apologize for not saying that at the beginning of the podcast. I did not realize. I knew we had a lot of content, but I didn't realize we weren't even going to make it to the first half of the movie within the first hour.
Well,
So.
we are talking about a 3-hour movie, so it's
Well,
kind of
that's
hard
true.
to condense it down.
That's true, but we're not even an hour into the into the
Well,
movie.
we'll speed it up a little bit.
All right, well let's just hit on some of your big things, man. Let's just go ahead and just not try to do this scene by scene, and let's just talk about the rest of the movie. Uh,
Okay.
what's your big beef with the movie? Let's just ask you that straightforward. What's your biggest concern, biggest beef with the movie?
The first one is definitely why he's killing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's not satisfying to me, and my headphones are dying. So take over for a minute. I gotta get my charger.
Sure. I think my big beef with this movie is, like you said, we don't have an explanation or a backstory as to why Bruce has decided that killing is the way to go. I'm gonna mute you for a second here, John. Just give me a wave whenever you're ready. Um, that's one of them. The other one is, like I said at the very beginning, we have a lack of an original story, or less of an original story, um, which
Okay, can you
really
hear
would
me?
have been. Yeah, we got you.
Okay, sorry
Um,
about that.
it's okay. Lack of an original story, and I think I don't know. They tried to do too much in the movie, and I'll cover that later when we start talking about the influences we see in the movie. Um, I'll tell you right now, I saw at least 4 major story arcs in this movie that they covered source material out of, and they didn't need to. What do you now that you got your mic and all fixed? What were you saying?
My first biggest beef was the not being satisfied why he's killing. And I know they kind of dropped the line of Alfred saying when you're feeling powerless and blah blah blah, which is a good line, but it's I don't know. It wasn't satisfying to me. But I did after that. I just didn't care. I just went with it. Had a good time still. And another biggest beef, um, Jesse Eisenberg. Now I'm not a Superman guy, so I don't care about Lex Luthor. But when reviews were coming in before I saw the movie, everybody was hating on Jesse Eisenberg. I liked him in the movie, but I don't think he was playing the right character. And a
No, he
lot of
does.
people are saying, "Go ahead."
I was going to say he does a piss poor portrayal of Lex, at least in his nuances. The character itself was set up right, in my opinion. He had he had everything that all of Lex's characteristics, but the actor did a piss poor job of it. And I'm gonna let you go into explaining what your thought was, because we've talked about it, and I agree with you, and that's kind of why I say it was a piss poor presentation. So go ahead.
Um, I like his performance as playing a villain. Now I'm sure there's some people out there will still disagree with me, but the whole time I was watching him the very first time, I'm like, wow, he kind of reminds me of the Riddler. A lot of people saying, oh yeah, he was just channeling Jim Carrey's Riddler. Like, well, there's a difference. Jim Carrey's Riddler was okay, but I never once had an ounce of like feeling of sinister from Jim Carrey in that movie. And like, if he played the Riddler, he could actually probably do a hell of a lot better job because I buy his evilness, dare I say. Um, I like him,
No,
but I did not like him as Lex Luthor. He should have been playing a different character.
yeah, Jim Carrey's going off on that real quick. Jim Carrey's Riddler was more a representation of the Adam West TV show Riddler than
And
the
then you
actual
can't do
Riddler.
Frank Gorshin. There's only one Frank Gorshin, so.
Yeah. Uh, as far as the Lex character in this, actually, the bad thing is you say Riddler. My first thought is, man, this is almost like they tried to marry Joker and Lex Luthor together. Um,
Yeah, more like Heath. Well, I don't want to compare him to Heath Ledger's Joker, but in a way, kind of just like this whole. Yeah. What are you
yeah,
doing? Stop.
yeah. The whole thing that him, I don't know. I didn't buy it. I didn't like it. The character itself. Now, when you take the storyline, when you take Lex's story out of the movie, and you just look at the story and what he's doing, it's Lex Luthor. But when
Mm-hmm.
you look at the way that he's presented, he's crazy. Now, the thing about Lex is that in the comic books, yes, he's sociopathical, psychopathical, but he's very influential. He's very charismatic, and this character did not come off as charismatic. In fact, if we had the comic book Lex, that senator wouldn't have been like, "I don't buy it." She would have just been on board because that's how the comic book Lex is. He garners people's trust and their attention through his charismatic attitude, and this Lex didn't have it. This Lex, I disliked him from the beginning.
Yeah, I guess. But I just
Uh,
don't think he was playing the right character. I didn't. I liked his performance as a villain, just not Lex Luthor. That's not the right casting for him.
Maybe what we're
And
seeing is because they did go so young, and that really struck me as odd that they're going to go with an old Batman and then an extremely young Lex. Uh, I don't know. It doesn't sit right. Maybe we'll see more in the future with that, and they'll fix that character out some. Maybe rein him in a little bit. Maybe he'll be more pissed off in the next one and less uh, trying to be comical.
hmm what is your biggest beef on it, or some of it?
Well, that's what I was saying a minute ago. It was basically the same thing as far as Batman killing. Um, I think the Lex character really irked me a lot. A lot. I did not like his portrayal of him. Dude, I don't know. Lex Luthor is, to me, you get that
Would
sinister
you
undertone.
at least say this? Just scratching the whole Lex Luthor character. Do you think he at least did a decent job playing a bad guy? Am I alone on this one?
I. Hmm. It's hard to say because if he had been cast as Riddler, who's to say he would have played it the same way? Uh, I can only judge him based on what he was in the movie, and that is horrible. Uh, as far as whether or not he could portray a bad guy, a villain, he probably could. And like you said, it was probably the wrong call for the villain. Dude, honestly, I would have rather him see Nick Cage in that. I mean, and that's being facetious. Yeah, that's being completely comical there. Hey,
Oh God, I would love to see that.
or or bring back Gene Hackman, old ass Gene Hackman. Because
Just
for
just
what
to
it's worth,
kind of just to kind of go off a little side path, just real quick. Did you by any chance see the documentary of Nicolas Cage? Almost did Superman Lives, I think.
yeah, the death of Superman lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not watched that yet. They
You need to like you think it's like, oh God, this is gonna be so hilarious, but by the end of it, I was kind of really pissed off at Joel Schumacher because of Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin, it never got made. But the more and more they go in depth of talking about it and showing the designs and this weird new take of it, I would have loved to have seen Nicolas Cage play Superman. But anyway,
but the thing is
what was
back
that?
in that day, though, we hadn't. Forgive me, Nick Cage, if you actually listen to this, which I doubt you ever will, but we're talking about Nicolas Cage before he went batshit crazy too.
Ever since Wicker Man, it seems like for me, he just went off.
I mean, I loved him in the first Ghost Rider, and then the second Ghost Rider was like, what the hell? What happened here?
I couldn't get into Ghost Rider, man. I tried so many times, and I was just so confused when you say, "Oh, I like Ghost Rider." Like, how? I think what really killed it for me was Wes Bentley in that movie. But anyway, we're not talking about Ghost Rider. We're talking about Batman v Superman.
Right.
We have a bad habit going off paths that we don't need to be going down.
Well, that's why it's called a rant. You know, it doesn't hold a specific. It doesn't have to hold a specific path. Okay, so we're up here to this. We're seeing the new Lex. Gal Gadot.
Oh, you didn't like her?
Oh, I did.
Okay.
I really wish they had. If they were going to make this a setup for the Justice League movies, they really should have put her in a little bit more. With as little as they put in there, it made her seem out of place in the story. But had they put a little bit more in there, she would have seemed more central to the story.
That was one of my big concerns when the movie was being promoted, and they leaked, or not really leaked, they announced that Wonder Woman was going to be in the story. And I kind of had a feeling from the events of Man of Steel and the trailers, I knew the attack on Metropolis with all the buildings falling down was going to play a huge part of why they're against odds with each other. And then they said, we're going to put Wonder Woman in this movie. And I just felt like I was excited because I love Wonder Woman, but why do I have this feeling she's going to be shoehorned in? And even though I loved the scenes that she was in, it did not fit at all.
No, it was sadly very much so just thrown in there. And that made me sad because she did an excellent job. She, you know, by what I can tell, she's going to do a really good job as Wonder Woman. Now, that being said, she didn't have a whole lot of lines. She didn't have a whole lot of acting time on there. So it's hard to really say 100% certain. But I'd say I'm a good 75% certain she's going to make a decent Wonder Woman. And I wish that they had, if they were going to introduce her, then they should have given her a proper introduction and not a little footnote in this movie.
Right. Although I think the only thing I can really think of why because she's trying to get her photo back from Lex, so maybe this is somewhat of a setup with the prequel with her in World War One.
It is, and I'll tell you exactly how I know it is. When I went back and watched it again, if you go back and you pause it on that scene where he's looking or she's looking at the picture, I don't remember if it's him or her that looks at the picture exactly, but they show that picture of her from 1918. And if you look, Chris Pine is in that picture, and he's already slated to play in
Steve Trevor, I think.
Exactly. He's already slated to play Steve Trevor in the prequel movie. So he's in that picture. So if you look at that, that is exactly what that is. It's a setup for her movie.
Yeah, which I'm excited for.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen some scenes and it looks really good. So I'm really excited for Wonder Woman.
If I had any questionable doubt or worry or concern about one of the metas that they introduced in this, it's Ezra Miller as the Flash. I do not understand why. For the life of me, I do not understand why they didn't go with Grant Gustin. The man plays a perfect Flash. In my opinion, he plays a perfect Flash, and they should have tapped him for it because Ezra Miller doesn't look the part. Dude, the dream sequence at the end of the dream sequence when he comes in doing the Crisis on Infinite Earths, it's a throwback to Crisis on Infinite Earths. The suit looks horrible.
I had a hard time figuring out what the hell I was looking at when the first time I saw it. He looks like he's wearing garbage can lids all over him. I don't know. I hate the outfit. Oh God, I hate it.
You know, my take on it was, it's like, what the hell is he supposed to be, Iron Man or something? Because that hood is flipped up like this. I don't know. It was horrible. It was very horribly presented. And the big thing is that that's a crucial DC storyline that they're showing there, Crisis on Infinite Earths, and a character that Grant Gustin has made very close to my heart. I really like the Flash, but I don't know. I'm really worried for the Flash movie.
Yeah, I wasn't too impressed with the whole Flash at all. Um, all I can say is we'll see, but I'm not like, oh, what are they going to do with the Flash in the next one? I can't wait to see. I'm just kind of like, oh God, please don't mess it up, please. Please tell me that this is some kind of suit that helped him time travel from burning up. Please do not tell me this is the actual suit, please.
Well, if they're doing that, then it's still not even true because Flash doesn't need a special suit to time travel. He just runs into the Speed Force. He uses the Speed Force to do that, so he doesn't. I don't know.
I
It's
think it just comes down to contracts when it comes to like the TV actors playing the movie roles because I can't. It was addressed at some point. I heard it from somewhere. I think on a Kevin Smith podcast explaining why they weren't going to use Steve Amell or whatever that guy's name that plays Flash.
Grant Gustin. Yeah, they did.
Which
They said that they didn't want to interfere with. They didn't want to bring the Arrowverse into the Snyderverse. They want to keep them separate, kind of working like a multiverse, and that way they can run separately. But if that's so true, then why the hell haven't we seen an actual? Not Gotham. Don't get me wrong. I love Gotham, but that's a Jim Gordon story. Why the hell have we not seen a Batman show?
I don't know.
I
I
mean,
think they could have been okay if they just blended everything together. You would actually probably cover more ground a lot more quicker because they're trying to catch up with Marvel. I don't think it would have hurt if they just had those two guys just doing Justice League and do appearances here and there. And then when the time is right, then do a movie.
I, and I'm on the fence about it because yes, I would love to see those guys do their parts in the movies. But in the same hand, I also consider the fact that if they did that, would it hold up the TV show? Would it hold up what the TV shows were able to do? They would only be able to get to a certain point before the movies, or the movies would have to take over from the point where they were and not be able to tell the story. It would kind of constrict them into their storylines. So I really get why they didn't do it, but damn, they could have at least said, hey, this is a different multiverse and put those guys in it without having to infringe on the TV shows. Because Grant Gustin, man, and I know you haven't watched the Flash TV show. I really wish you would. I recommend it to
I've got
everyone.
to. I think I'm about to go not very far. I I've been trying to watch, but I've just been so busy, and I'll just I got a lot
Oh,
of personal things going on, really stressful stuff. But I've got to episode I think 4 or 5. I'm trying to watch them when I have free time to sit down. But I was trying to set up a Fourth of July, and I wanted to watch it, but then no, I gotta watch the ultimate cut again because I was kind of cranky when I watched it. So I wanted to get a fair shake before I talk about it.
well, that goes to anybody listening or watching this too. If you haven't watched, all right, Arrow, it's not going to be for everyone. I do love Arrow. I think everybody should give it a chance. Make sure you watch it past season one because they were trying to find out who they were. I've told you this several times. They were trying to figure out where they wanted to go with the characters. You could tell they had a lot of things going on. But when it comes down to the Flash, it's almost like they had a clear vision from day one what they wanted to do with him. And Grant Gustin really, really, really nails uh, Barry Allen. He's it's almost like he was born to play that part. It really is. I can't say it any other way. He's probably the best casting I've ever seen of an actor to a superhero.
Wow. See, I keep hearing these things, and that's the reason why I'm more interested in watching The Flash over Arrow because I have a hard time getting into Arrow because it just like I know you said, oh, I like it because it's like Batman. That's why I have a problem with it. I can't take a guy that dresses like Robin Hood, Peter Pan, with a bow and arrow, like I protect this city. Okay,
But that's what the character is. I mean,
but
look, even
I
okay.
know,
Look,
but
I'll go to
it's just
source. I'll go to a source and I'll point it out to you. Dark Knight Returns, the Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns. Green Arrow shows up in that, and
Mm-hmm.
look at how he acts in that. Look at how he and Bruce get along. Look at it. You can tell they are cut from the same cloth, which is another reason why I really love. I've learned to love the Arrowverse Green Arrow. Now I still don't read the comic. I might with Rebirth, but as far as the New 52, I couldn't get into it. It didn't seem right. But I like superheroes. I like Iron Man. I like Batman, and I like Green Arrow. And that's because they have no powers. They're just people that see something wrong and they decide they're going to take up the mantle to make it right.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm going to get around to it, but I don't know. I will say I did read one Green Arrow comic, and I can't remember the name of it. I, was it Quiver? All I know is the artist is Jock. He did the art, and the writer last name is I think Diggle or Dingle or something like that, and they named the black actor on that show after that
Oh,
writer.
Diggle.
That's where Diggle. Okay, that's I can't remember the name of that comic. If you haven't read that one, check that out. I did really enjoy that one. I just can't remember the name of it, but I like Green Arrow. I don't know. I have a hard time watching superhero TV shows. They just seem to I don't know. I feel old when I watch them. It just looks so young, and I don't know. But I'm trying. I just it's just a matter of finding the time to sit down and watch them because I do want to give my fair opinion about it.
All right, we'll cover that in another episode. Let's get back to our to Batman v Superman. Okay, so we covered the Wonder Woman thing. We covered the Lex thing. I think we've got the characters pretty much covered. Oh, Jeremy Irons. I love Jeremy Irons. I'm a huge Alfred fan. You know this. If any of you listen to our Three Guys or the Blockbusters, our previous podcast that we did, you'll know that I am a huge Alfred fan. I think that he's really the heart, the conscience, and the spirit behind Batman and Bruce Wayne. So when I say this, it's not at all said lightly. I loved Jeremy Irons' portrayal as cranky Alfred. He reminds me so much of the animated series Alfred. It's just uncanny and a wonderful performance.
I agree. Um, I don't know. I had a hard time of getting a feel for him when I first started watching the movies or the movie first few times because we just came from Michael Caine, and I really liked Michael Caine's performance as Alfred. I mean, I like them all, Michael Goff and Michael Caine, but this one, I do like the fact that I guess his engineer, his mechanic that fixes the car, does the suits, does the gadgets. He's a little bit more hands-on besides just being the lovey-dovey grandpa serve cold soup Alfred.
Yeah, you're getting the comic book Alfred with him. You really are.
And there's
Uh,
a little blend of Earth One Batman Alfred with him, which I love. Because I don't know if you've read the Earth One Batman, but in that one, Alfred is a military badass, and he's kind of forced to look after Wayne, and he's the one that teaches Wayne how to fight because
yeah,
Alfred was like Green Beret, Special Forces, deadliest missions ever, badass
yeah.
Alfred.
It's the one they used as a model for Gotham.
hmm And I like that. I like that version of Alfred.
Uh, yeah, what I love about this Alfred most specifically, and this is why I really brought it up. He's an excellent mirror to Bruce Wayne in this film. He's a mirror to what we're seeing in Batman, and he's trying. You can see where he knows that baby talking him isn't going to get it, so he's snarky at him too. He's giving him hell about it.
Yeah, he's not afraid to speak his mind, that's for sure. So I do like that.
What do you think happened to Wayne Manor? I mean, I know we're
I
getting sidetracked again in the movie, but at least we're on the movie topic with this one.
Yeah, eventually we got to talk about the fight. But the Wayne Manor, I could not figure out why. I was trying to find graffiti, like ha ha ha, like maybe Joker found out who Bruce Wayne or Batman was and killed Robin there. I don't know. I don't understand what happened to Wayne Manor. So I don't
I,
know.
I really hope we get that in the next standalone Batman movie. I really do, because that's it's one of those things that they just kind of show it as a matter of fact. You're like, wait, you can't just show that and not say something about it, you know. Let's see, what we got. We've gotten up to that point. Um, since how we're on character discussions, before we get into the fight, let's talk about the pre-fight. Batman chasing down the appearance of the new Batmobile. Love it, love it.
Hmm. It's a good mix of the Nolan verse with the like Tim Burton. It was a nice blend because I do like the Tumblr ish sort of, but it just felt like it's just a military thing that Batman uses. This felt like a Batmobile that could wreck anything it comes in its path, except for Superman. But everything else it can go through.
You know, I'm gonna actually say I don't I didn't see it so much as a mix of the Tumblr and the original Batman. What I see is I see them saying and acknowledging the Arkham series, and specifically Arkham Knight. I think that's really what this is. This is more of a nod to the Arkham series, because to me, when I saw it, I was like, "Dang, that's a few modifications. That very well could be the Arkham Knight Batmobile."
Even sounds like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it absolutely does. You can, and like I said, I think that was a nod to it. They actually make another reference, and I'll cover it later. That you called on to, but I actually did a little research into it and found out it really was a nod to it, to Arkham. So they are actually nodding to the Arkham universe. But the Batmobile tears through a building. It tears through a boat. It's got guns. He's blowing people up, which is, whether you agree with it or not, it is what it is. He's being shot at. I don't see a problem why Batman shouldn't be allowed to shoot back.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't care. It's just I just thought it was odd because of the previous movies. It's just like, okay, um, I don't really like the whole speech, but whatever. Anyway, moving on. I'm not gonna repeat myself, but
No. I think they're trying to separate themselves from that, make their own mythos for it, and that's great. But the Batmobile, I loved it. I really did. So he speeds around the corner and ping bounces off of Superman.
I laugh every time I see it. Like a little toy car. Teet, 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 teet.
Oh well, how about that? How about the whole Batman? He's got that stupefied look on him when he sees Superman. It's like really? I don't know. That was one of those things where it's just like, I don't know if he's thinking what the WTF, or if he's saying oh shit. But either way, that dude, when he stands up though, he rips after Superman rips off the top, and Batman stands up. It's just like, oh shit, it's go time.
Well, here's another one. The voice, Batman
Mm,
voice.
mm.
What are your
I
thoughts?
Dude, I loved it. I love that they explain why the voice is the way it is too. They didn't just, it's not like Christopher Nolan's where he's gargling rocks and making a noise. you know, no, it's a legitimate. Hey, I'm hiding my identity and I'm using my tech to do it. That seems to me more believable than any other Batman that I've seen represented on TV or movies.
Hmm. Yeah, as soon as he started, well, in the trailers, at first I thought that was just the voice for the armor, but like, no, this is his regular Batman voice with the little modulator and everything. And it's like, see, Nolan, This is a better route if you want to disguise his voice.
Exactly.
You can
Um,
actually understand what he's saying.
but you can understand it. The voice is obviously disguised, and what's even better than that, and it might set it up for later. If he needs to have him portrayed, if you notice, they show Alfred testing it, and when Alfred tests it, it comes out and still sounds like Batman. So in this case, if he ever needs to portray both Bruce Wayne and Batman at the same time, people aren't going, that doesn't sound like Batman. No, it'll still sound like Batman. So it makes sense.
Hmm.
It's like he's thought ahead. And that was something about this Batman too that I really like is as the movie portrays through, you really start seeing that he's playing chess. He's a couple of moves ahead. He's a couple of thoughts ahead of everything that's going on. Because he sets up, not only do you see that Lex sets up this elaborate line of things to bring those two to blows, but you also see that Batman is playing a long game. In the same hand, he's got schemes, plots, and plans, even so much as manipulating Alfred in one part of that into thinking he's going after a dirty bomb when he's actually going after the kryptonite.
Hmm. Um, Crap. What was I about to say? I had something on my mind. I was going to say it.
Well, while you think
Uh,
of that, let's prepare ourselves mentally here to get into the big fight sequence because I mean, really, we've covered pretty much everything else in the movie. If there's anything you can think of up to the fight sequence we haven't covered, bring it up. Let's move into that because that's like the big attraction for the movie.
right. I think we pretty much hit the big ones. The other ones are just, you know, plot setups or whatever. So
All right, so we got Batman in the Ultimate Suit, which is so
which,
obviously stolen from Dark Knight Returns.
well, I don't know if they were. Well, I don't know if stolen's the right word, but obviously that's what they were going for. But I love the suit, even though it's a little disappointing that it wasn't like practically made, like it was all CGI. But still, badass. Because apparently Ben Affleck was wearing like those little spandex mocap suits or whatever, and he felt kind of weird wearing tight spandex and Henry Cavill trying to act all menacing.
You know the bad thing is though it didn't come off as CGI to me.
That yeah, I was just like, oh wow, that was CGI. I didn't know that. I thought maybe some of it was practical.
Yeah, it did not come off to me as CGI whatsoever. It looks very very much natural. Uh, the opening salvo, if you will, Superman comes in and he's trying to talk to Batman. All right, first off, it's like you pointed out, man. Why even involve Batman before we even get into the fight? Why even involve Batman into this? Why didn't he just go do the super ear thing and find his mom? You asked me that. I can't come up with a legitimate reason why.
I because I wanted. That's another reason why I watched this movie again, the Ultimate Edition, which I found that I love the movie even more now that I've seen everything laid out. I didn't fast forward. I paid attention. I wanted to see if there was like a dropped line somewhere saying that this is a lead covered uh, warehouse. I did not find one line or anything that said like, "Oh, this is a lead covered warehouse. That's why he can't see or whatever." And I'm still scratching my head like, you didn't have to do this. All you had to do was just listen for your mom.
The only thing I have been able to conjure up in my mind was so that they could do a two pronged attack, so that so that so that
And
he could
what
get his
was,
mom and go straight after Lex at the same time.
but what was Lex's next plan if Superman, was successful and took Batman's head off? What's next? He's coming right after you. I don't understand.
Well, I think that was the whole reason. And we'll get into that, man, because
Is he trying to be? Is he trying to be the Joker and make him break his one rule? I, I don't know. I don't understand what he's getting out of that.
I don't know. Maybe he thought they'd take each other out.
That too, or maybe he felt like because he knew that he was going to come after the kryptonite, and maybe he felt like Batman had enough strategy to take down Superman with the right weapon.
I
I
don't know.
guess.
Like I said, the only thing I can figure is that maybe he thought he was getting rid of both of them at the same time. Maybe he sees Batman as a threat to his future plans, and it's you know what? Ultimately, I think maybe it comes down to this. I just thought of this sitting here thinking about it. One, he has nothing to lose for pitting the two of them together, and two, which if they had fought to the death, it would be one less adversary he had to deal with. Maybe that's why he did it. It was one less person he had to deal with to do his ultimate plan, which was, bring apocalypse.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Uh, but that whole fight sequence, man, Batman. So let's be honest. I'm not a Superman fan. You Superman fans out there listening to this, you can write in, you can correct me, but I'm sorry. Batman completely stomps Superman.
Yeah. I love the line where the first, I guess, kryptonite gas he gives him, breathe in, that's fear.
Yeah.
but
Now that line, funny you say that because whenever he did that, I was like, what did he mix it with Scarecrow's fear toxin or something? I mean, that would have been awesome. But yeah,
and breathe in, that's fear. and you're not brave. Only men are brave, or something
yeah.
like that. I love that line.
Mm-hmm. Although I will say this, I love when he's beating the snot out of Superman, and the powder, the dust wears off, and he just starts hitting him, and it's like pink, 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 and then you see this. Oh shit! Look there.
He always, every time I see that scene, it reminds me of Ric Flair. Anytime, like in the middle of the match, he would just like, and then maybe Hulk Hogan's like, brother. He's like doing that. It reminds me of Ric Flair every time I see Batman doing that.
But yeah, I don't care if you're a Superman fan or not. Like I said, you can write in, you can complain, you can put it down here in the comments on the video. But Batman handily wins that, which is what I would expect. I would expect that.
hmm Um, what was I about to, now, just to kind of fast forward, now I do like because I kind of didn't really want them to fight to begin with ever since they announced it because I just kind of like I don't care because I've seen it in Dark Knight Returns. I don't need to see them fight all the time or hear about them fighting because I don't want them to fight. I want them to work together. And quite honestly, realistically, okay, let me ask you this. In a real fight between Batman and Superman, who do you think would win? I just want to see your answer.
Batman. It's happened several times. It's not just Dark Knight Returns. You start looking at like you start looking at what was it, Batman versus Superman. It happened there. It's happened. Hell, there was one time that Batman took down the entire Justice League on his own. I mean, it happened. It's happened more times than it's worth arguing about. Batman would ultimately win. Although I did see a meme today. I did see a funny meme today that had Batman standing there saying, "In 2 weeks we're going to fight," and Superman says, "Okay," and then it skips forward and Batman's laying on the ground. He's like, "Oh, I'm so weak. My muscles ache. I can't get up and fight. We can't do this right now. What did you do to me? And Superman says, 2 weeks ago, I super flew into your cave, into the Bat Cave, injected you with the polio virus, and which has a dormancy of 2 weeks, and now you have polio and you can't fight me. And he says, and Batman says something like, "That's not fair." And he goes, and Superman says, "Well, I know it's not a glowing green rock or anything, but how is that? How does that fare?"
I don't know. Every time I hear the question of, when someone asks me who would win, Batman or Superman, my answer is it just depends who's willing to go far with it. Because you can't beat Superman into, like, I will beat you without killing you. You have to kill him if you're going to beat Superman. And if Superman's willing to kill Batman, it just depends who's willing to take it to death, go all the way with it. And I like they fixed that in this because I didn't want. You see what I'm saying?
No, I was just fixing to ask you, what makes you think Superman's willing to kill? Because actually, the big proponent in the comic books, the big proponent in Justice League, that you can't take it so far to kill. We cannot kill. We have to be better than them. That's Superman. It's Superman to Batman all the time, telling him, "You can't kill. You can't beat the crap out of people. You can't beat them to a bloody pulp." So no, I really don't. I don't agree with that because Superman's always been the one that says, "Don't kill."
Exactly, but I was just thinking, like, it just depends. Let's see. If they were wanting to fight, and if Superman is just like, I'm so sick of Batman making these little joke memes online on my Facebook saying he can beat me, and I'm just gonna fly and just, while he's taking a dump, and I'm just gonna punch his head off right now. I'll be done with him in 8 seconds. Then yeah, there's no way. But if Batman has time to prep, there's still a chance he could come out winning. But
I don't know, man. Because if you're going by the comic book Batman, he's always got that kryptonite ring that he keeps on him. He's always prepared
and
for it.
now I'm not gonna say I've read every single fight they've ever had in comics. I know they just released a trade volume that touches on that. But I remember, I think it was Hush, where he was explaining to Catwoman that he had a kryptonite ring. He's got to be ready for him, and he's mentioned, like, this won't stop him. This might slow him down and buy me time, but this cannot defeat Superman. I'm just saying, if Batman is going to take down Superman, let's just erase the whole Superman and be willing to kill Batman. But if for Batman to beat Superman, he has to kill him. In my opinion.
I don't know. There are other ways to beat Superman other than killing him. Um, and then there's other ways other than green kryptonite to defeat Superman too. What is it? There's another one that there's red kryptonite, which makes him crazy. I mean, you have all the other different kinds of kryptonite, which once again I don't claim to be a Superman, but I mean he could very easily use something other than the green kryptonite, which just weakens him. There's one kryptonite, I can't remember what color it is, but there's one of the kryptonites that actually takes his power away over an extended period of time for a while until he recovers from it, other than green. So I mean, okay. I don't know.
That was my opinion. If Batman were to win, he would have to be willing to go all the way with it.
Well, I mean, the same is in reverse for Superman, and this really would create the conundrum for Superman because he's not the one. He's an advocate, definitely an advocate for not kill. Now, Batman. Here's the other thing too that people tend to mistake. It's not that Batman won't kill; it's that Batman doesn't use guns, which is broken. That rule's broken in this movie as well. But supposedly, mythos-wise, Batman doesn't use guns because that's what was used to kill his parents, so he won't use guns himself. But Batman has never actually come out and said he won't kill. I know he has told Robin at times we have to be better than them. That's why we don't do that. But that doesn't mean that Batman is notorious for breaking his own rules in the same hand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
But
know. I think you're stuck with another Batman Joker situation there if you got into that situation because Batman. It's funny you say Batman would have to kill Superman, but in reality, Superman would almost certainly have to kill Batman too. Otherwise, Batman's going to come back for him. He,
mm-hmm.
Batman gets a bone, gets on something, and he's not going to just let it go. So yeah, I think it's just the same there. Superman would absolutely have to be willing to kill Batman in order for that fight to ever stop.
Yeah, but that's my thought of it. I'm sure there are people that disagree with me, but that's always my answer when someone asks me who would win, Batman or Superman. Depends. Superman
Uh,
is like, I'm just tired of his damn memes on Facebook. I'm just going to kill him right now. I'm sorry, I love Batman, but he could kill him if he wanted to.
dare we even touch the whole Martha thing?
This is one of my biggest beefs. I do not like the whole, like, he scratches his face like, you weren't even a man. Save Martha. Why'd you say that name? And then they're friends.
It's not that they're friends.
What?
I'm going to tell you, man. I did a lot of thinking on this before we came into this podcast, and I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think that's what that is. I don't think it's that. Oh, we shared the same mother's name, so now we're buddies. It's more the line of it
A
causes
chance to save
when he
his
says
mother?
that. No, 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 no. I think it's more along the lines that when he says that and realizes Superman has a mother, which is something I don't think he's considered because he's looking at him as being this alien that could possibly destroy the human race. So he's not looking at it that he has a human mother. I don't think he realizes that because of what happened in Metropolis and Man of Steel, I don't think he realizes Superman actually cares for humans or would have a human mother that he cares about. So he hears that, but not only that, but the thought of hearing Martha and thinking about his mother is what brings back Bruce's humanity. Not only does it humanize Superman for Bruce, but it also kind of brings his humanity back and snaps him out of this cruel phase he's been in. So I mean, as much as people give it hell, in reality, it's actually kind of a masterstroke when you think about it in the same hand.
Yeah, I guess I can see that. I took it more of as I mean, a little bit of what you said, but I think there's a part of him that, in a way, he gets to, even though it's not his mother, but it's a chance to save Martha, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean that definitely still fits in there, and that's what I said. I think it's what's needed to rehumanize Bruce Wayne Batman, and in the same hand, it brings a human element to Superman for Batman. So he stops and thinks about it because he has that flashback, and I think he's just been in a rage for so long he's forgotten. You know what? That may be what it is too. He's been in a rage for so long he's forgotten why he started to be Batman. And whenever he hears that
Mm-hmm.
name, it snaps him back to it. Why did I do this? It was because my parents were killed. Now here's another person who's trying to do right, or another being that's trying to do right, and he's more concerned about his mother than he is his own life. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is right there in the hand. He finally realizes that Superman
It helps
thinks that
me
he's
take,
fighting for himself.
digest the scene a little bit better.
I really think that's what it boils down to. Is that it shows him that in the moment of death, instead of Superman being concerned for his own life, he's actually concerned for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, could that fight sequence have been longer? Yes. I mean, you build the movie Batman versus Superman, and then you give us like what 10 minutes, 5 minutes of fighting, and then it's oh we're buddies, and let's go save your mom.
Right.
But you know, man, sitting here and I know we're getting to the end of the movie, but I just realized there was a major thing, and I want to wait till the end. We'll discuss. People, if you're listening, we are going to discuss the dream sequence, the nightmare. We'll discuss it at the end, though. Let's get through the movie, and then we'll discuss nightmare because that is essential, I think, to what's fixing to happen in the later movies. All right.
And after this is to not only a good scene of what everybody came to see, the warehouse. But before the warehouse, the Batwing. What did you think of the
Oh,
Batwing?
dude, I've always been a fan of the Batwing. I've
I have
always been a fan of the Batwing. Whenever it came in Arkham Knight, the only thing I do is sit there and scream at it. Let me drive the Batwing. You know, you gave me the Batmobile. I don't really. I'm happy with the Batmobile, but give me the damn Batwing. You know, give me the Batplane, the Batwing, however you want to call it. Give me that. And this one in this movie, wow, and the remote drone functionality for Alfred to be able to fly it,
Mm-hmm.
dude. It was the realization of one of my favorite Bat toys ever.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole scene with the Batwing and the Arkham style fight. Yes, it's
Oh, and you know that was what I was alluding to earlier. That they actually, you know, you said when I watched it, you said, what did you think about the Arkham style takedowns? You know, they actually went for that. That was the reason they did that. They directly took uh, three of the Batman takedowns from the Arkham game series to nod to that game series, which was the weapons when he jumps through the floor, comes up through the floor like he does in the movie. It comes through a wall, and then he also does the batarang takedown or the bat line takedown where he reels him in and takes him down. And those were three things that they specifically said. Yes, we wanted to take some of the Arkham stuff to give reference to the Arkham stuff.
hmm.
So that was really cool.
Now, before we move on from that scene, you know, um, he stabs a guy to a wall,
Mm-hmm.
and he finishes the last thug, and then he gets up and he just has this menacing walk towards the guy that's stuck on the wall. What exactly does he do to him? Because it looks like he's grabbing his nuts. I'm trying to figure out what he's screaming from. Did he kill him? Did he grab his nuts? What did he do?
I don't know. I'd have to rewatch that sequence. I'd have to rewatch that sequence to answer that.
He's all like, giving over there and towering over him. And it's like, oh, that is kind of intimidating. Next thing I know, it looks like he's doing like a little lower, like he grabbed his nuts and twisted them or something. What are you doing?
Maybe he bat branded his nutsack. That's probably what it was. He bat branded the
Ow.
nutsack. Yeah, that'd make you scream. He was teaching him how to fly. I don't know. I really don't know. I'd have to go back and rewatch that sequence. Now that you mention it, I will go back and watch it, and I'll have an answer for you when I have one.
Oh god, I see it every time. But anyway, yeah. Anything else you want to touch on this scene?
Not really. I mean, I love the fact that he. Oh man, you gotta love that one little comedy moment when he's got Martha Kent down, and he goes, "I'm a friend of your son's," and she goes, "I kind of figured." That was Cape. You know, the Cape gave it away.
Yeah.
That actually was really good. That was a really good lightning of that moment. Really.
Hmm. I like that too. And then is the Doomsday fight. Now, I knew, well, I don't want to say I knew, but I had a feeling that how the story was going to go down, they're going to have differences because of the events of Man of Steel. They're going to fight. It's a cliche, any kind of crossover. Two characters that are on the good side, they clash. They fight like, oh wait, we got to set our differences aside and take down the bigger threat. And I was thinking, who was the bigger threat? Because you don't need Batman with Superman to take down Lex, in my opinion,
Oh no.
unless he created Doomsday. That's the only thing I could think of, and that's what was going to come out. So, what did you think about Doomsday?
I I think it was a completely why. I mean, I guess that's my biggest question. It's like, earlier I said maybe he took them out so that he could get to his ultimate plan, but obviously his ultimate plan wasn't Doomsday because he does that out of desperation. He goes to the well, no, because he goes to the Ark while they're fighting, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know because he couldn't have known he was going to build unless he had already because he unlocks the Ark in that sequence, so he hasn't been in there. He doesn't know he can uh, build Doomsday. I don't know, man. It's one of those moments where they're putting the cart before the horse, so to speak. It's like he's already got Zod's body. What was he expecting to do with Zod's body other than cut his, which was actually a really really cool thing. I didn't see that coming. Him cutting off his using the kryptonite scalpel to cut off his fingerprints to get into the Ark.
Right.
But I don't know what was he expecting to find in there. I don't know. I don't understand why he went there. And even furthermore, and this brings up a question. This goes back to my joking question earlier about Superman and Lois Lane having sex. Well, if mixing of Lex's DNA with Kryptonian DNA creates uh, an abomination, it creates Doomsday. Then wouldn't technically their baby be the same thing if they had a baby?
That's a good question, since you mentioned it. I don't know. If a little drop of blood caused that, there's no telling what
Super
baby
sperm.
juice would do.
Super sperm. And do each one of his little sperms have a little cape that flies out? This
Oh,
stands
God.
for something. This stands for something. Bukake?
Oh, God. Oh.
I don't understand why. I don't understand why the Doomsday thing came about. Uh, Once it got started and they started talking about Kryptonian abominations, I knew exactly where they were fixing to go with it. Just knowing the comics, you knew it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
And then after he said, "This is your Doomsday," and Doomsday appears, you already knew. If you are a fan of DC Comics, you knew exactly where this story was going.
Mm-hmm.
I did not. I didn't expect him to pull this story out in this movie. This seems like one they should have waited for the next standalone Superman movie. I,
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, I can understand why they did it because there's got to be a bigger threat that Superman would need Batman and why Batman would need Superman. And that's all I can really think of is someone like Doomsday.
I don't know though. Like I said, I think that it was something that should have been held on to for a later movie. Forgive me, I've got a technical issue going on in my office. Uh, all right, there we go. I think honestly, this is something that they should have had the Batman versus Superman fight, the two of them taking Lex down, and saved this whole Doomsday storyline for hey, Lex has escaped, and now he's releasing it and devoted an entire movie to it and done it right.
Mm-hmm.
That really should have been held off for the next standalone Superman movie, in my opinion. But if you didn't do it, then what was the need for Wonder Woman?
Right.
I do love that line. Is she with you? I thought she was with you.
Uh, just to go back, just real quick, did you find it slightly little annoying that when Bruce sent the email to Wonder Woman, that each video of each future Justice League members already had a logo? Because I thought Wonder Woman's logo I'm like, oh, is that a WWE app?
Okay, I think here's the problem I have with it. I don't think it's bad that they had a logo, because honestly, I think that the Lex that they portrayed, the way they portrayed him, probably would have put a logo to each one of the files. The problem I have with it is that he named them.
Did he name them?
Ezra
Well, he
Miller
did
in
for
that.
WWE for Wonder Woman.
Yeah, and then if you look at the file, it says Flash. If you look at the one that says the C, it says Cyborg, and then you look at that and it says Wonder Woman. So it's not that I have a problem. And obviously, by the video, Flash hasn't started outed himself yet, so we're just seeing these clippets of him trying to save people. It's not that he gave them a logo that I have a problem with. The biggest problem I have is that Lex named these characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just thought it was odd. I mean, don't get me
Well,
wrong, it's cool to see the videos, but it's just like, why do they have logos all of a sudden?
furthermore, for that matter, why the hell did Bruce send her the videos on the rest of them? Where was that any of her business? And since when has Batman ever just willingly gave up knowledge or information he has that would be to his advantage to keep?
Well, for one, she did say she wanted that photo of her back, and she couldn't crack the code. So maybe he was doing her a solid since she gave the file back. And I don't know, maybe that's when he started the plan. Well, no. Because
I
at
don't.
that point, he was still pissed at Superman, ready to take his life, so he wasn't planning to form a Justice League.
Well, maybe you know what? Maybe this was his. Maybe it was his backup plan to get Hurt and those others team together in case he didn't. In case he didn't beat Superman, maybe he was letting her know, I know something's up with you. Here's some other people. If something happens to me, take out Superman. Maybe that's what that was. I don't know. It seemed completely out of character for Batman, who usually keeps. I mean, hell, if you look at the comic books, he has a file on how to take everybody in the Justice League out, and he only lets them know that whenever it's dire important for him to tell them, hey, I have a plan for each one of you.
Hmm. Isn't that the Tower of Babel
The Tower of Babel.
that covers with him having a file how to take out every Justice League member in case he needs to? I think that's from. Anyway, not important.
I'd have to go back and look. Honestly, I know it deals with. I know it deals with the characters from Earth One or a different Earth on the multiverse coming in. Anyway, like I said, it's not important now. We'll cover that in another. But anybody that knows, you can go ahead and write to us. Let us know. Anyhow, but yeah, the whole fight scene. I love this. The only reason that I do love that they brought that in is because that's where you get to see Wonder Woman. You get to see her come in, and unfortunately, during this whole fight sequence with Doomsday, Batman just has to kind of stand back there and look like a bitch the entire time.
They're ready to fight. Batman's like, I got one shot.
Yeah, if you watch that scene, he's like hiding behind building chunks and all. It's actually kind of really funny to me because he's like hiding and he's running around and he's dodging, and then they get the snot beat out of them. So what's he do? Oh well, I better go in there and jump in. I don't know.
I still can't. Well, I guess she was holding because I was trying to figure out. Okay, if he can weaken Doomsday with the kryptonite gas, couldn't Superman just tell Wonder Woman, say, "Look, I can't touch this shit. Um, I have a bad reaction. I'm allergic to kryptonite. You look
Well,
like a warrior that throw many spears in your time. You think you can throw this in the chest?"
that would require him to give up his one weakness to somebody else. So I guess no, he probably wouldn't do that.
She's
That
like,
probably
"You
would.
want me to do that? No, I'm a man. I can do it. No woman's gonna do my job." I don't know.
The better question to me is Superman is dead, well, zombified, floating in space. Lois Lane is in Gotham. Batman's flying around in the Batwing, and he tells Alfred, "Oh, I've got to get the spear." So whenever he gets there, and Superman flies down and goes, "Did you get the spear? How the fuck did you know about that? How did you know that's what he came back to do?"
Maybe you heard him. I don't know.
Okay, Lois, how did she know it? Because she goes and runs to go get it.
I did think of that. Like, okay, I understand why she got rid of it,
Mm-hmm.
but why did she think like, oh, I better get that spear?
Yeah, because she doesn't, you know, and even if somebody says, well, she kind of figured that this was Kryptonian, and how? She wasn't in, she wasn't in Metropolis to know that Lex was screwing around with the actual Kryptonian technology. So she doesn't even know this thing's Kryptonian. So supposedly, she's just going and getting the spear for no freaking reason.
Yeah, that does stick out to me. So, yeah, Superman dies, which anybody that reads comics, you know, I never really read the comic. I knew that was going to happen, and this one scene, I keep trying to figure out, am I missing something? Because when the whole funeral's done and everything, which is a nice little um, scene, showing what's going on in Metropolis and what's going on the farm. And then when Lois drops her dirt and walks away, and Bruce Wayne's in the distance, and Wonder Woman comes walking up, I can't figure out why he says, "I failed him in death," or no, "I failed him in no, I failed him in
I felt
life,
it in life.
but
I
I
won't
won't fail
fail
him
him.
in death."
Yeah, because
What
he's
the hell
finally
is he
realized.
talking?
He's finally realized that Superman was actually a hero and that he wronged him by hunting him. So now that he's dead, he's going to try and carry on that legacy of taking care of Earth. That's what that's
Okay,
about. That's what that is.
okay, because I was just thinking, like, did I miss something? Because you saved the mother without breaking a sweat. So,
I think
okay,
it has to do with the fact that he hunted him down the whole time. And if he hadn't been hunting, and you know how Bruce is, he would have realized by that point that if he hadn't spent all that time hunting down Superman, that he probably would have caught on to Lex's whole thing sooner.
that's a little minor gripe with me, is him not figuring out what Lex was doing. But that's just a nitpick as a Batman fanboy.
Well, no, he was preoccupied. He's completely preoccupied with saving the world from Superman. It makes perfect sense to me.
Mm, I don't
He's
know.
a,
Batman
it's
for
happened.
me has always seemed like he was always, 5 steps ahead of everybody and kind of figure out the mystery of the puzzle of what's really going on before anybody else. And I don't know.
Well, this is true, but how many times he been so? Uh, how many times has he been so on a crusade about one thing that he's missed something because his crusade has kept him preoccupied? Okay, a great example is Hush. He never saw that coming. He never saw who Hush was because he was continually looking in the other direction.
And like Nightfall, yeah. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess so. I mean,
It's
like
like
I say, it doesn't break the movie for me. I'm just saying, just like, I don't know. I kind of feel like Batman would have figured that out, but I keep forgetting this is a new kind of Batman
mm-hmm.
ish, sort of. So it does. It's not. It's just a tiny nitpick. It's not really a big gripe. It's just a nitpick.
So the floating dirt obviously is referenced. Not quite sure why the dirt's floating, but it's obviously a reference that Superman's coming back.
Hmm.
So we've covered all the way up to the movie. Unless you have something major you need to say about this, I say let's cover the last thing, which to me is one of the most important things of the movie. Honestly, is the nightmare.
One last thing. I love the fact that in the ultimate cut, he says Arkham Asylum to Lex. And I
Oh,
have friends waiting on you. I just like, oh, I smile every time I hear that line. That's it.
yeah. No, I actually love the way that line. It seems like you said that. I will mention it. I love the way that line is delivered. He's like, "We have mental institutions which care for people, but you're not going there." I love that. You're not
I do
going to
too.
those. All right.
So,
How important? Because to me, the nightmare sequence is an extremely important storyline to what's coming. What do you think?
about the scene or what?
Okay. Do
Because you
you
mentioned
think
that Crisis on Infinite Earth. I haven't gotten around to reading that. So
do you think it's a premonition, or do you think it's him just kind of daydreaming what he thinks the future might be?
I think it's a premonition.
I agree, and more 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 to the point, I don't think it's just a premonition. I think that it's we see in Flashpoint, we see in Crisis on Infinite Earths, a lot of times what happens is that when one of the multiverses is changed, when time is changed for a short period of time, both the memories of both of those universes exist, and I think that's kind of what's happening here.
Hmm.
Especially when they bring Flash in, who's who's doing the travel through the Speed Force to give him a warning. Lois is the key.
Which I'm trying
I,
to figure out what that means.
I don't know. I mean, it could be that something happens to Lois, which we could have an injustice situation here.
I was thinking that, but I don't know. I'm definitely interested to see what happens, though.
Well, let's break it down. Let's break it down. Let's start looking at it. You got Batman in a desolate wasteland, the big Omega symbol.
Hmm.
We know we're talking, the legions of Apocalypse and Darkseid with those. That's, in fact, you actually have the, what are they called? The flying things. They're parts of, they're from
Um,
Apocalypse.
Parademons, Parademons.
Parademons.
Is
Parademons.
that it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Parademons. Part of the Legion of Apocalypse or Darkseid's. Dude, I love it. I love that whole sequence.
I do too. A lot of people are complaining, "Oh, he kills." I don't care. That what I see is war, and war changes people. So I'm completely okay with him using guns.
Furthermore, if we're talking about an injustice, Superman's gone batshit. I think Batman is most definitely going to kill because he has to keep himself alive to be the savior that he needs to be.
Hmm.
Um, I love the what was that? The suit with the coat. It was in
World War II,
yeah, World War II, Elseworld, World War II.
which
It
I
also
love that suit. I love it.
it was spot on, and the fact that he's a general of an army, which actually is kind of a reference as well to Dark Knight Returns, as well as some of the other stories where he's that last thing. I love the scene where he rips his mask off and he's sitting there and he sees Superman and he rips the mask off. But I think you're right. I think it's the future to come. I think that's what we're going to be dealing with in the Justice League movies.
So does that mean that we just saw a tease of the death of Batman?
I don't think so because I think what we saw there is obviously seeing how once he figures out that he had a premonition, and once he figures out that he sent Flash back to warn him, I think it'll change that. I think that's what would be the death of Batman.
Yeah. But I definitely love that scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Oh yeah, it's definitely right out of a comic book.
I would say, I don't know. I like the warehouse in that scene. Those are kind of neck and neck, and then the third would be the Batman Superman fight. So I'm really like, oh god, I want to watch this movie. This is the movie I want to watch.
Oh
Every
yeah,
time I
right.
see it.
Yeah, I know. The nightmare sequence is just, to me, it is the most important sequence out of that movie to set up the oncoming movies. Now, I don't want to carry on. I'm just gonna say, we're at
Yeah,
two
let's get
hours
into it.
plus. So what I want to say is, if you if you've listened to the show, you like the show, you have comments, you have questions, you want to appear on the show, send us an email. That's Batrants Podcast, Batrants Podcast, Podcast, all in one word, at gmail.com. Let us know, hey, we'd love to have you on the show. We can bring you in. You can be in the video, you can be in the audio. If you just want to come in and talk, hey, heck, if you want to come in and talk Batman, let's talk Batman. You want to come in and talk Doctor Who, let's talk Doctor Who. John might be a little bit lost, but we can definitely talk about it. We're here to talk about fandoms. I think for our next episode, I think I'm going to go ahead and say, John, I, I think we need to discuss the 800-pound elephant in the room and talk about the new Ghostbusters.
Mm. Does this mean I have to watch the new one?
I I think if there's some way between the next time we podcast, I tell you what, it'll either be the next podcast or the podcast after that. I think John and I will have to get together and go watch the movie.
Mm.
You know what? I tell you what. Next podcast, we're going to discuss the original Ghostbusters and our take on the trailers for the new Ghostbusters. And then if we get to go and see it, we'll make a second podcast that discusses our afterthoughts after watching it. So that way you get a good before and after. So if you want to be part of that conversation, you've got to send us a message and let us know. We'd love to have you on the show because I'm sure we've bored you now for 2 hours.
I did tell Nick that if the movie comes out and at least gets mediocre reviews, I'll go watch it. And if it's just abysmal, I don't know if I can do it. I just
All right, people, if we can get 100 views on this video, if we can get 100 listens to on our podcast, I will make sure John goes to that movie. I will make sure it happens. If we get 100 people that either listen or even if it's 50-50, if we can get 50 listens and 50 views, if you can
or
share it to
likes
your friends, that's right, or likes, if you want to share it. If we can get people to view this, at least 100 different people to view this or to listen to this, I will take John to that movie. I'll suffer. I'll tie him up, put handcuffs on him and throw him in the movie theater to watch it.
uh,
Either that, or I'll find the actual edit of the Twinkie edition of Ghostbusters original and make him watch that.
if I go say it, I'm gonna sneak in. Oh wait, did I say that out loud? Oops.
Yeah, either that or if we edition of the original. For those of you that don't know, there's a video going around Facebook, a trailer for people that don't want to see women in the new Ghostbusters movie. At the end of it, they have
Oh
a little
God.
thing on there for Ghostbusters, the Twinkie edition, and they've basically put dongs on all the guys during the entire movie.
Even a dong and Stay Puffed. Oh my God. Dangling around, just and maybe 100 feet from people running away from it. Oh my God.
Well, that definitely would give a new meaning to when they blow him up and he turns into big wads of white goo, wouldn't it?
But yeah, I to get a little serious, I do want to talk about Ghostbusters, and I pretty much everything I'm gonna say is pretty much every other Ghostbuster fan is the same complaint, which is, a lot of people think it's just sexism, and it's not. It's much more than that. But I'm going to
Uh,
save that for the podcast.
exactly. I will say this: if you listen to either one of us, I can guarantee you. I have John and I have talked about it enough. I will guarantee you that anything we have to say about the movie will have absolutely nothing to do with
Misogyny or none
it
of
has
that.
nothing. It has nothing to do with their choice in sex. It's sexing the casting.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any problem with the casting, it's going to be with the actors or actresses themselves.
Right.
That being said, I hope you enjoyed it. We're looking forward to making more. Whether or not we get listened to or not, we're going to be here ranting on anyway. Because hey, we enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
We
Gives
hope
us a chance to hang out in a way.
exactly, and I hope that you enjoy it. We use Google Hangouts. We will try to post when we're going to podcast ahead of time. You can watch us live on Google Hangouts Plus or on our YouTube channel, which is Batrants, all one word, right here on this bottom of the screen. Right here. There we go. Batrants. And that's our YouTube page as well. So feel free to go and watch us as we broadcast live. John, you have anything else you want to say in closing?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, I know we started off trying to go scene by scene, but we would be here for maybe 3+ hours, and I'm sure none of you want to sit through that. So we did the 2.5 hour choppy edition of the plot. So we hope you enjoyed it, and there's more to come. It's not
Right.
all going to be Batman all the time. It'll be other stuff.
Exactly. Don't let the name fool you. That's what we chose because we are huge Batman fans. And once again, we are by no means experts. Feel free to correct us. Then again, understand that if you correct us and we know we're right and you're not right, we will call you out on it.
Mm,
For those of you listening on audio, you'll find that I've probably split this into two separate podcasts for the sake of time. I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, we look forward to it. And stay tuned. Same bat time.
same Bat channel.
That's it. Have a good evening.
Bye.